Please carry your conversations outside the chamber.
Mr. President, we have just invoked cloture on the food safety bill, and I think it's important for the American people to know what that means.
Thank you.
What that means is we're going to spend another $1.4 billion of their money. Number two is we're going to raise the cost of food over the next year and thereafter about $200 to $300 million. We sent $141 million per year in unfunded mandates if we pass this bill on the states, and we didn't fix the real problem with food safety in this country, according to the Government Accountability Office. I have two amendments. The other point I'd make is we went through this process over the last week and a half with no amendments being allowed. No amendments being allowed, which really violates the spirit of the Senate. We could have finished this bill probably the week before Thanksgiving had we had amendments allowed. The thing Washington gets wrong, it's not their intent. It's not their well-meaning desire to fix problems that are in front of the country. What Washington gets wrong is they think spending more money, setting up a ton of more regulations will fix problems. And it doesn't. What it does is raise costs. And so we're going to see a lot of small food manufacturers no longer making food. We're going to raise the cost of our food. And by the way, those are significant increases. If I could have my charts brought down to the floor, I'd appreciate it. Significant increases this year in food, and we're going to see that extended. But we're not going to fix the real issue. And food safety is on the mind of everybody in this country because of the recent 500 billion egg recall in this country. It's important to know what went on there. It's important to note that the head of the FDA, Dr. Margaret Hamburger, said had their rule been in existence, we wouldn't have had that problem with salmonella with eggs. They promulgated or finished a rule around the time of the salmonella infection and contamination on the eggs. The problem with that is it took 10 years to develop that rule. Nobody has asked why it took 10 years. Nobody's did a hearing before we passed this rule to say, how did we allow this to happen? But we took 10 years. Senator Harkin has the right idea on food safety. He didn't get a proffer of that bill because he couldn't get it through. But his idea is we need one food safety organization, not three. And we now have three. And we're going to exacerbate that problem with the bill that we just deemed cloture on. The intent of my colleagues is great. But as somebody trained in the art of medicine, what I see in this bill is different than what you see in this bill. See, I see the problem is not lacking regulatory authority. The problem is not holding the regulators in their expertise and carrying out of the authority that they have. And how do I know that for sure? Because it wasn't a week after the recall on the eggs on the salmonella scare that we had 2 FDA inspectors cross-contaminating farms in Iowa, not even following their own regulations. This doesn't do anything for that. Because the only thing that's going to fix the real problems with food safety in this country is us holding the regulators accountable, not giving them a whole bunch more regulations. And we haven't done that. We have failed to do that. And it's not just in food safety, it's in all. The reason we have a $1.3 trillion deficit is because we don't hold agencies accountable. We're going to have a debate in a minute on earmarks, and we're going to hear it put forward that the only way we can control is direct money ourselves. Well, that's just absolutely an untruth. The way you can direct where money gets spent in this country is having oversight on the agencies and them knowing you're going to look at every time on how they're spending the money, why, and make them justify it. But the fact is we're not looking because we've decided we'll divide. We'll take ours and we'll put our $16 billion over here, and you, administration, you can take your money and put your money where you want to put it. That's the real debate on earmarks. And there's nothing in our oath that says anything about our obligation to our state to bring money back to it. And the hidden little secret on earmarks is they're used as much as a political tool as they are to claim I'm doing something good for my state. I'd ask unanimous consent to waive the rules for the consideration of Amendment 4696 and Amendment 4697.
Is there an objection?
Mr. President, reserving the right to object.
Senator from Illinois.
I'd like to ask the senator from Oklahoma if he could explain